Well, welcome back to Total Football. Brentford are struggling to perform at the moment, having lost 4 of their last 5 games, including a defeat to lowly Sheffield United last week. They take on Aston Villa on Sunday. Let's head to the club's training ground and speak to our reporter, Mark McAdam, who joins us live right here on Total Football. Hi there, Mark. So reports that Bryan Mbeumo has been ruled out of the African Cup of Nations. What's the latest you've got on his injury?
Yeah, well, it was a story that we brought to you earlier on in the week on Sky Sports News with regards to how long Bryan Mbeumo might be out for. And unfortunately for Brentford and Cameroon fans, Thomas Frank confirmed their worst fears today by announcing in the press conference that he'd be out for 12 weeks. And today he was undergoing the surgeon's knife for an ankle operation. So he's going to be out for some time. It's going to be probably the middle of March before you see Bryan Mbeumo back in action, and that will come as a real blow because he has stepped into the void that Ivan Toney has left. He scored 7 Premier League goals in 15 starts this season, and now Thomas Frank will have to look to other members of his squad. Here's how he revealed the news.
Positive, energizer. Let's get through the operation first. Bryan is a positive guy. I think everyone that get a setback, it's always tough to take, but he will come back stronger. Very, very good mindset. So I'm convinced he'll come back stronger. Of course, the long-term ones, of course, is irritating. I think we throughout the season, it seems like almost from game one, we struggle a little bit with some injuries, and then the list start to grow. Manage quite well. Convinced they will manage quite well still. A good group of players that are willing to fight.
But as you alluded to, Mark, Bryan Mbeumo is such a big miss for the club to be out for that length of time. So could that force Thomas Frank into the transfer market, be a bit more active in January?
Yeah, well, it's the natural follow-on question, isn't it, when they're missing such a key player and an important player, and they haven't got Ivan Toney for some time as well. It's actually a month today that Ivan Toney is allowed to play competitive Premier League football. The question was, what will you be doing in January? We know that Brentford are always quite astute and clever with their signings and what they try and do in transfer windows. But would Thomas Frank and the backroom team's thinking be changed with this extensive injury list that they've got at the moment? And with someone like Bryan Mbeumo, like we say, who's been scoring goals, what will that do to the dynamic with the way they approach the window? And Thomas Frank replied, as he normally does, in great detail, that they'll be calm and collected. The injury list has been a frustration since the start of the campaign, but it won't really change their thinking as to what they want to do at this stage. Maybe, he said, that they could be looking at the loan market as potentially something that they could do, but really it's always about long-term signings for Thomas Frank and Brentford. They're always looking at how they do things on a longer-term basis. So that will certainly be one to watch. He said the next 3 or 4 weeks will be quite key. But in terms of injuries and January recruitments, that's not at the top of his to-do list at the moment. It's about turning around their poor recent form. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. They haven't scored in 3 of those as well. So at the moment, he's got to try and find a way to get them back winning matches, because as things stand, they're 11th in the Premier League, but they've got the tough challenge of Aston Villa next.
I would say that in general, we train good. The players train good, win, draw, lose. Of course, I think we all have that bounce back mentality after, and it was a disappointing result. And second half we played bad. That happens in football. It will probably happen again. Hopefully not on Sunday. So it's how we react to these situations. And the players have been good. They trained well, determined, focused. So pleased with the week so far.
So there you go, that was the thoughts of Thomas Frank, who was speaking to the media at the training ground today. Up next, Aston Villa in the Premier League, a side that have only lost once in their last 15 matches in all competitions. They have been absolutely superb, particularly at Villa Park, a little bit different away from home. So it'd be interesting to see how they come up against the Thomas Frank side that can be quite dynamic, quite physical, quite difficult to defend against, particularly against free kicks, corners, set plays and that kind of thing. But Thomas Frank is comfortable with the players he he has at his disposal, despite the number of injuries that he has. He believes that there are players that will jump into that 11 and give everything for the side. He knows that the G-Tech will be an important asset for them, despite them only winning 3 games in the Premier League this season. There's a confidence, there's a buzz, and for Thomas Frank and Brentford, this is their final Premier League match before Christmas, and he wants to send the fans off home happy with 3 points in their back pocket so they can enjoy the festivities.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Mark.